Welcome to Pod Save America Live.
What's up, team?
Here with Jon Lovett, here with Priyanka Aribindi. We're ready to take some questions. Lovett, what are you looking at?
I was going to retweet the stream. So,
we should just call this retweeting the stream.
Don't retweet the stream. Ben Rhodes for Pod Save the World interviewed a basketball player. Enes Kanter, obviously. Jesus,
we
like
literally
Elijah.
Just talked about this 5 seconds before the stream started, what his name was.
And the picture of him sitting at this table is so funny. And I looked at it and I realized that if in a million years they found his bones next to my bones, they'd think, wow, these two kinds of humans lived on Earth at the same time. I wonder if they were able to communicate. I wonder what this smaller version did to survive in a world with such titans. And it would only be because we had not enough bone data millions of years from now that they wouldn't realize that we were, in fact, just people.
Anyway, welcome.
Welcome to the live stream.
We have news to talk about.
Yeah. Wait, before we get into the news, we had a very cool guest today. Can we
did.
give a little sneak preview for all of our loyal live stream viewers?
Yeah.
What went down?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez stopped by.
Heard of her?
What?
Has it heard of her?
Stopped by Crooked Media. She sat right here, interviewed her for a little while. She was fantastic. We talked about immigration, race, the economy. We talked about democratic messaging, candidates. Talked about storytelling.
You forgot to say that she endorsed one of the Democrats.
She endorsed one of the Democrats.
What?
So it's going to be a pretty good day for Steve Bullock. No, I'm just kidding. No, she did not. But she was
Steve, wake up. You'll never believe what happened. Huh?
She was, it was Rapino levels of excitement here among the staff.
There was a lot of excitement.
A lot of excitement around the staff.
I was on the phone with Brian, actually, for our newsletter rundown, and I was like, oh, I'm going to need to call you back, but got off that call so
Sorry,
fast.
Brian.
I was like, no, we're taking a picture now.
Yeah, no. Well, the interview will be out tomorrow, and she was fantastic. So I think everyone will enjoy it.
Oh, also, you can retweet the stream now. The tweet is
I already did it.
live. Oh.
Already did it.
Lovett's already done it. I did it. They got my right handle this time, so.
Here we go.
Let's get a question.
All right. Here's a question. This week, big news. The Trump administration just released a new regulation to deny green cards and visas to legal immigrants if they have used public programs like Medicaid, food stamps, and government-subsidized housing. Can we talk about what this is, why they would do this, who this affects, and just your general reaction, takeaways to this rule?
Yeah, so this is a law in the books about what they call it being a public charge. So if you're not, this has nothing to do with illegal immigration. This is legal immigrants who are here. And the law has been on the books since the Chinese Exclusion Act, which was also an extremely racist and discriminatory law that we passed to exclude Chinese immigrants from this country back in the 1800s. And so it's been in the books for a while, but past administrations have only used it very narrowly, so that if you're someone who is here on Social Security supplemental income for a very, very, very long period of time, they would say, okay, well, you haven't been working, you've been on this for a long time, and it has been used very narrowly. The Trump administration decided to expand it to include, like you said, Medicaid, housing, nutritional assistance for infants and children, and look, it is hard to argue anything else but the fact that they decided to widen this rule and broaden this rule to deter low-income immigrants from coming here, and not just coming here, because it also affects immigrants who are already here. Legal immigrants who are already here now have to choose between, I need health care, my family needs health care, should I sign up for Medicaid, should I make sure that I can get housing assistance so my family's not homeless, should I feed my infant child, or should I risk being deported from the country?
And like people facing the vicissitudes of life that everyone faces, right? Like just people who are working, doing their best, and then hit hard times. Like this is just to target people and make being an immigrant in the United States more insecure, less reliable, more uncertain, just to make the lives of immigrants worse, to send a message to Trump base voters. Don't worry. We're going after the brown people. We'll take care of it. We've got your back. Like, we're doing the things we said we'd do.
Yeah, I mean, if they really this is not your sort of typical Republican bullshit where it's we want to cut food stamps for everyone, we want to cut Medicaid for everyone, which they all do, which they've been doing, and which they've been proposing to do and trying to do for a long time now. What the Trump administration is trying to do, and obviously a Stephen Miller brainchild here, is to say, okay, the poor white people, even though we are cutting all of their benefits too, we're not going to make a big deal about that. We're going to be quiet about that. What we want to be loud about is that we're going to cut benefits for immigrants, and not immigrants who are here without documentation, legal immigrants, because we want poor white people and working class white people to know that we're cracking down on these people, even though they're trying to rip healthcare away from the poorer white people as well.
Yeah, it's a transparent, their political fate depends on convincing millions and millions of people who are being hurt by this administration that their greater interest lies in Donald Trump's and Republicans' policies of targeting immigrants, targeting urban areas, targeting people that don't look like them. And as long as this election is fought on that axis, they believe they've got a better chance of winning. And so everything that they're doing is a part of that.
So, of course, that is very horrifying. I also found yesterday when we were doing newsletter stuff, the acting immigration head, Ken Cuccinelli, had like an update to the Statue of Liberty. He said that basically, I don't know, the context of it was basically like he was quoting it, but then he was like, give me your tired and your poor who can stand on their own 2 feet and who will not become a public charge.
Yeah. For some reason, Emma Lazarus didn't see fit to include that poetic line.
It's very frustrating.
She would always talk about public charges in her
Spend
poems.
A little bit of effort, Ken, in following the rhyming scheme of the fucking poem. Shore door, free me. Go on.
Yeah, the Cuccinelli comments basically just they give away the game, right? And this is like saying that.
And they're kind of like doubling down on it, right? It's not like they're making any effort to walk them back.
He went even further. He said, I mean, look, when she wrote that poem, it was about Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
But it like I said, it gives away the game. I mean, think of how many poor Europeans over the course of decades and centuries have come to this country with $1 in their pocket and tried to. The whole fucking American dream is that you can come here from anywhere in the world with nothing and work your way up and have opportunity for your family, and that's the American dream. And over the generations, that dream was achieved not just through the individual hard work of people, but through our collective struggle and our ability to help people go to college on the GI Bill, get Social Security, get Medicare, and those were all services and a safety net that was offered to immigrants who came here for decades and centuries.
And also, I would just add that I think if you go back and you go through the files and you check the records, you will not find that when Italians, Irish, and Jewish people were coming into this country, that the people who were already here were like, oh, good, Europeans.
Right.
The poem is aspirational, and
the original poem, not the Cuccinelli
No,
remix.
not the give us your oligarchs looking to park money in Manhattan real estate. Give us your Chinese EB5 visa investors purchasing them to pretend to create jobs in the U.S. through a Kushner company.
Yeah, I'll tell
yearning to breathe free.
I'll tell you who's a public charge. Donald fucking Trump is a public charge.
Nailed it.
That guy's been
hashtag Moscow Mitch.
That guy's been fucking milking the system since birth.
Unfucking believable.
Talk about a fucking weight on the country.
I'll lift your lamp beside the golden door.
All right, moving on. More ridiculous things that awful people have said. In attempts to justify not allowing exceptions for rape and incest in anti-abortion legislation that he tried to pass in Congress, Rep. Steve King decided to chirp up today and said, if not for rape and incest, asked, would there be any population left? Question here, is there hope of getting rid of Steve King in Iowa? Has the tide turned enough?
That was wild.
Yeah.
And that was not, I was like, I saw the tweets about it, and I was like, all right, I have to read this whole story because is this like a
No.
half taken out of Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
No, the
He goes-
context is
the context is
exactly
exactly
correct.
what
So
he
it's
said,
what he meant.
and worse, which is like, yes, but throughout history, there's been wars and raping and pillaging, and what would have happened if all the people who were products of all that raping and pillaging didn't exist anymore? And you're just like, what the
Sir.
fuck? I'm sorry. So yeah,
Genghis fucking King. This guy.
there you go. There's your hashtag right there.
Whoa.
Put that right
It's,
in your Moscow Mitch hashtag. So
It's-
anyway, he's back. White nationalist Steve King still has a seat. Thankfully, J.D. Scholten is mounting a rematch in the Iowa 4th. I believe
And it
it's
was
the
very
4th
close
district.
last time, right?
It was much closer than people thought.
Yeah.
And J.D. is an outstanding candidate. We've gotten to know him a little bit, and gosh, give your
Help.
throw J.D. a few dollars.
JD,
That's
today.
exactly the line in the
defeat
newsletter.
this guy,
Yeah.
please. Steve King was unacceptably racist and misogynist before he let us in on his a facet of his worldview that up till now he had not shared so publicly. So, you know,
And it also, I mean, the views of people like Steve King on abortion sort of now dovetail with a larger white nationalist view that the birth rate among white people in this country is a real problem. That it's, that one of the reasons to be against abortion is because we already have a low birth rate in this country, and we can't have all of the, immigrants who are coming to this country. They have high birth rates.
it's the replacement.
I mean, it's
the
crazy.
Laura
It's the
Ingraham,
replacement.
Tucker Carlson white nationalist.
It all fits. It is very dangerous. So
It's
yeah.
almost as if there's this connection between ingrained misogyny and ingrained white nationalism that combine into a kind of
Steve King.
revanchist ideological view, in a way.
In a way.
Anyway,
right.
so yeah.
We're going to transition into some 2020 related questions. But before we do, Elijah has a PSA for us all. If you could go like the stream, that would be great.
Like the stream?
Like, not you guys.
Oh.
Yes, oh.
Them who are watching on
Thank you,
YouTube.
thank you. Sorry.
But yeah, you guys can like the stream too.
Like the stream.
All
It
right.
helps with the algorithm.
That's what we're all about here.
Here's the deal.
Algorithms.
All right. We replace God with an algorithm. So far, it's going terribly. But the tech companies have reassured us that they're working out the
Our
kinks.
new gods.
Our new gods have reassured us that they are working out the kinks. Took 7 days to create the world. Give them time.
It's taken Mark Zuckerberg a lot longer to fix any of the problems he's created.
Yes, but good news. This thing you didn't know was happening, which is their transcribing of your private messages, has recently been stopped. So sleep well, America. There's a recording device in your room that your child uses to play Schools on the Bus.
But did that answer your question? Was there a question?
No. That
It
was just
like
liking
the
the
stream.
stream.
Like the stream. Cool. All right, let's get to 2020.
All right, question. How can we push moderate Democrats like Mickey Sherrill and New Jersey 11 to be more progressive without ruining their chances of winning in 2020? Should people challenge them in primaries?
So, I am of the view that primaries are healthy for the party. And if you want to challenge someone in a primary, I'm not in the DCCC camp where you got to blacklist firms that are working for primary challengers. I think the most productive, useful primaries are primaries that take place in blue districts where it seems like a Democrat's going to win anyway. And so we might as well try to fight for the most progressive Democrat that we can. If someone wants to mount a challenge in New Jersey to our more moderate members, that's fine. But I do not think you are going to get someone. It's unlikely that you will get someone who is further to the left. And I think what's more important than I think it's important to create an environment on the ground through organizing, not just around an election, but every day, where you're talking to voters and you are sort of pushing the issues, pushing progressive issues, so that you create a political environment in that district where someone like a Representative Cheryl can feel comfortable voting for more progressive positions, because that's what the people on the ground are saying. And we saw this into 2018, right? There were a lot of places where, no one would have predicted that, Katie Porter being for Medicare for All in a county or in a district that's only voted Republican forever in Orange County would be a position that would be okay. Why was it okay? Why did she win anyway? Not just because Katie Porter is an excellent candidate, because there's a lot of work on the ground there from Indivisible, from Swing Left, from all kinds of groups that talked people through some of these issues, that talked people through Medicare for All. And so there was a political environment where she feels now like she can be progressive in Congress and isn't worried about pissing off some, moderate voter.
As someone who canvassed for her, I feel partially responsible for that.
And you are.
And you are.
And you are.
And you are.
I wasn't really serious.
So I
but-
did.
but you should have been, because you are.
Yeah. So look,
Wow.
I realize it's frustrating, and I think you should, push your members and call your members and put pressure on them when they're not taking positions that you believe are progressive. But I do think that a lot of the work to create a progressive environment happens on the ground.
Cool. Got it. Noted. All right. So if you've been following Crooked Media on Instagram, this is a plug. Tommy has been in Iowa, and
He sure has.
it looks quite fun. But this question is about Iowa.
You said it looks quite fun, like
Sorry.
like a middle-aged like a middle-aged wealthy woman looking at a carousel.
Well, he's not really Instagramming like
You know what I mean?
fun things.
Ooh.
You know?
Looks like fun.
Like a very Lucille Bluth kind
Yeah,
of.
it's like, my goodness, what a row.
He's going to campaign things.
Yes.
They look fine.
Don't
It
let him
does.
give you shit.
I'm just
Priyanka.
having fun.
Go
I'm
follow
sorry.
the Instagram, okay?
Follow the Instagram. Follow Tommy on Instagram.
Tommy's Instagramming up a storm. I've never seen
Yeah.
him Instagram this much in his life.
He's taking a lot of initiative.
Everything
Very
that's
active
happening in
on
Iowa,
stories.
it's on Tommy's Instagram.
Check
Yeah.
it out.
You can follow him at Tommy Vitor.
Or else.
Anyways, how important is a good performance in Iowa relative to how you're doing nationally? Can we talk about why we're talking about Iowa so much?
Yeah, national polls are garbage. Iowa polls are the only ones that matter.
Boom, there you go.
That's it. Yeah. They're going to vote in Iowa. They're going to have a caucus in Iowa, and it's going to change the entire race outside of Iowa, which is the country where the polls are being done.
Yeah.
So
We cannot conceive right now, because we live in pundit world, just how much everything will change once there is a result in Iowa. Like the entire political context, the conversation, everything that's happening. If someone surprises in Iowa, if someone wins what we thought we were going to win, it changes everything.
it's funny. It's what happens is whatever questions people are asking the day before Iowa is the question everyone decides Iowa answered, right? Like whatever it may be, like, did Biden falter? Is Kamala building enough of an organization? Does Cory Booker have a shot? Is Pete Buttigieg still in it? Whatever the punditry questions are, and they could be any of them, the answer will be Iowa no matter what happens in it. Like, it just is the answer to all the uncertainty that comes before it.
Yeah, so the Iowa, and I mean, the reason that the Iowa polls, so there's one reason it's important because Iowa is important. The other reason that the Iowa polls are more important and more reflective of what's actually happening in the campaign is that is the state where most of these candidates are spending their time. And so when polling comes from a state or a place where people know the candidates more, they're paying attention more closely, they are seeing the candidates in person, you're going to get a more accurate reflection of how people feel about the candidates than a lot of these national polls, which basically just take the temperature of what you've seen on Twitter, cable, and anytime you've paid attention to the news just casually.
Yeah, I know you guys don't have numbers in front of you right now, but I'm going to ask you about them anyways.
Sure.
Do you have, just an idea of how right now Iowa polls are differing from, national polls?
Yeah.
Or is there much of a difference at all?
I think the difference is, Joe Biden is still in the lead in Iowa, but the margin between him and Warren is much closer than it is nationally, I think. And so, I shouldn't just say Warren either. I think Biden, Warren, and Sanders are all, have a lead in Iowa that is pretty close. And then after them, I think you've got the other difference is I think Pete has been doing a little bit better. He's often in fourth in Iowa, where he's in fifth or sixth. Now he's sort of fallen to fifth or sixth nationally in other places. So Pete's a little bit stronger. And then you have sort of Kamala and Cory Booker and then the rest of the crew. So that's sort of what's going on in Iowa right now. But, I heard this somewhere, but I was on the Kerry campaign in 2003. September of 2003, people were calling on John Kerry to drop out of the race. He fired his campaign manager. There was this huge staff shakeup. He was polling behind. He was polling behind Joe Lieberman, who was in the lead, Dick Gephardt. Everyone's like, who's Dick Gephardt? Al Sharpton. John Kerry was behind Al Sharpton.
When does John Kerry ride onto the Tonight Show on a motorcycle? And I can never remember if that is considered the last gasp of the failing part of his campaign or the way he reset his campaign. I hope it's the former.
But we're not even. It's August right now. We're not even in September where that's where John Kerry was left for dead, and then he goes on to win the nomination.
That said, I do think these. I think what we've seen. I feel like there's been a couple trends. One of them was Pete Buttigieg's just sudden emergence after his CNN town hall, and the other has been the slow rise of Warren. But a lot of this has looked pretty stable nationally and in Iowa too. So that doesn't mean it can't all change. It certainly can, but I think people sometimes say, well, in 2016, Trump wasn't even on the stage when they did the August poll, and that's true. But once Trump did get in, kind of led the polls pretty stably through the rest of the race. People assume that would change. So I think it's the kind of thing where we just don't know. This could be a very stable race, or it could be something that gets upended by an event. Nobody knows.
Yep, nobody knows.
So looking at the date, it's in February, and we have a few debates until then, obviously with different thresholds and whatnot. So generally, would you anticipate more people? Obviously, the field won't be 20 at that point, but it'll cool down a good amount before then, right? Or is that going to be the deciding factor?
I think it should. I think if you don't make this next debate, and if you don't make the October debate, and there may be some people who don't make September but do make October,
which is very frustrating.
That's
say.
But I think if you don't make either, I read some pieces that say, oh, so and so still considering staying in even if they don't make either debate. And I mean, everyone is free to do whatever they want.
Free country.
Free country.
Still is, sort of, mostly.
I don't
mostly free country.
If I was running for president or I was on a campaign for president, I don't know that I would want to be on a campaign that didn't make either of those debates, because those debates right now are pretty much the only way that you can get any oxygen or, make your case to voters on a national level. Look, I guess, some people can decide, I don't want to be part of the debates. I can just go live in Iowa. Candidates have done that in the past. With varying levels of success. But I think in a 20-something person field, if you have not made either of the debates and you've been campaigning for this long and it's hard to get attention anyway, it ain't happening. It ain't happening if you're not making either of those two debates.
Well, and certainly what is so galling about that is not only has it not happened so far, you don't seem very interested in changing to make it happen. So it's sort of what are we missing? What haven't we gotten? What have the voters who've been paying attention not gathered that you're trying to show them?
Yeah, I know what their campaign staffers will tell them is the fall is when everyone starts paying attention, and even people in Iowa who are super into politics will start paying attention more closely in the fall. So they keep thinking in their minds, this is when it happens, and this is my chance. And that can be true to an extent, but we have a more nationalized environment than we've ever had before, and also, if you're not on stage in these debates, you're not going to be in people's minds.
And also, we just went through an exercise of 2 debates in which you had an opportunity to make your argument.
Yes.
And
which I think is
it's one thing to say, oh, I'm seeing momentum, but it's not there yet. I'm going to keep at this. But there's so many candidates in this race that have just, it's flat. They just haven't resonated even when 10, 15, 20, 30 million people had their eyes on it. So people just need to kind of, face the music.
Speaking of these upcoming debates, do you guys know how many candidates are qualified and how many it takes to split into 2 nights again? Parentheses, for the love of God, please no.
I'm starting to feel very nervous that we're heading towards 2 debates, which obviously is bad, I think, for the process, but also for me personally.
But
Again,
mostly for him
it's
personally.
very important what affects Lovett.
It's obviously it's not the most important thing. It's not even on the top 50 most important things, but it is happening.
I think we're at 10.
Are we officially at 10?
Are we at 9?
Steyer doesn't have the polls.
He
You got
doesn't
the
have the
donor
poll,
Steyer
but he
poll.
So I
has
couldn't
the
tell if Steyer makes
numbers.
10 or Steyer makes 11.
I think Steyer makes 10.
Steyer makes 10.
Yeah.
But if they're over 10, it's definitely
Over, we don't know.
I don't know if we know for
sure.
ABC hasn't said for sure what they're going to do, but I think I had heard that if it was over 11, if it's 12, they'll do
split
2
the 6
nights.
and 6. Although
Now, but that
maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know that a debate that 2 nights of 6 and 6. First I didn't want it. I still want a single debate stage. I'd rather that. But 2 nights of 6 and 6 means you're gonna hear a lot from those 6 candidates each night, and you're gonna get a lot more debate.
better than, I mean, at least the last debate that we watched, the Wednesday night one of July, which was, not fun
I
to
think
watch.
2 nights of 10 people on stage is garbage, and I'm so glad that's not going to happen no matter what. I think 12 is probably, because Steyer's close, and I think after Steyer, maybe Castro could be close,
I'm not sure.
and
I don't know who's there
and maybe
for.
Tulsi Gabbard, but I think beyond those two, no one is really close with the polls, because again, you need 4 polls where you're 2% or above, or 130,000 donors,
And-
and 130,000
right?
donors. Sorry, yeah.
Got it.
I think it's an interesting trade-off. What is actually better? Would you rather have all the candidates on one stage or split them up into 2 groups? I think there's something deeply unsatisfying and unhelpful about having frontrunners split up between 2 nights. And we've now had 2 debates, and Warren and Biden haven't been on
Right.
stage
That is-
together.
that's true.
And if that were to happen again, it would be
bad.
a
You're right.
profound disservice to the voters.
Yeah,
So
that's bad.
and again, not to harp on it, love it or leave it, Radio City, Friday the 13th, hoping to get one of these candidates, going to be harder.
Friday the 13th, huh?
Yeah, look, the date was available. Are we superstitious now?
No one said anything.
Yes.
Elijah says yes.
Yeah, we are. We are.
Okay.
We are. We are.
All right. Speaking of Tom Steyer, with Tom Steyer and his quote grassroots end quote campaign reaching the donor threshold, how likely is he to get to the polling threshold and make it into September's debate? How would that change things overall?
Look, he hit the donor threshold, and he's been on TV. He spent more on digital ads, and he's on television than any other candidate, and that translates to more name recognition, more people knowing who you are, and better poll numbers. And when the threshold is only 2%, it's very likely that Tom Steyer will hit that, hit that number, and which means that he has essentially bought his way onto the debate stage.
Kind of wild. It's like he is their candidate of choice at that point. That's so crazy.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, again, when we talk about voters, we're not talking about people like us who pay attention all the time. We're talking about people who are going about their lives like politics is in the background, and they turn on their TV or they look on their Facebook page, and then they hear about Tom Steyer. And then if you have enough people that see that, when a pollster calls you and you who do you want for president? You're like, oh yeah, I saw that ad from Tom Steyer. He has a good progressive message.
Say it from memory, or do they give you a list?
They usually give you a list.
Right.
The Washington Post does an open-ended one, which is weird, but or some of them they do, but most of them you get a list.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's we've talked about this. It's deeply uncomfortable that someone is purchasing the donor list they need and purchasing with airtime. The name recognition. It's an unfairness inside of our system. It's not right, and yet it's not as though he's not Howard Schultz, right? Looking to upend the process because of his own picayune.
He's not Donald
moderate.
Trump.
He's not Donald Trump. His message is compelling. His message is not very dissimilar from Elizabeth Warren's message. He's just compelled on offering it himself and claiming that his biography and his resume makes him a better carrier of that message. Of all the people, I mean, John Delaney has bought his way into this as well. I'm much more interested in what Tom Steyer has to say.
And again, Tom Steyer has spent a lot of his money over the last several years funding progressive groups, progressive organizations, helping elect Democrats up and down the ticket. So,
we're not being totally dismissive. It's just
no. I feel conflicted about it because on some gut level it feels gross to buy a spot on the debate stage. I also know Tom Steyer's work and what he's done for the party, and very much appreciate that. So it's tough.
Yeah.
All right, moving into the healthcare debate. Leah's asking, isn't the healthcare debate between single payer and Medicare buy-in really just a known employer-based insurance versus unknown Medicare for all? Do people truly love their private insurance, or is it just what they're familiar with?
We don't know for sure. I think, I'm sure there are some people where it's just what they're familiar with. There are some people who genuinely like their insurance. I don't think anyone's running around loving their health insurance. I think at best you have people saying my insurance is fine when I'm sick. It's there for me, and and my employer has provided pretty generous health insurance. That's some people.
And there's also,
a lot of people fucking hate it.
And there's a lot of people, by the way, I think, who have a positive view of their insurance in part because it's not been put through the ringer of a true crisis in their lives, right? And so they've liked their experience of it through their kind of routine medical care, but presume or don't know exactly how it would perform if they had a true medical emergency and might discover that it left them vulnerable in ways they don't know. Like, that is just a possibility in all of this.
I think the other confusion is when people hear lose your private health insurance, go to some other health insurance plan, they think, well, then I'm going to lose my doctor. And, what I think Medicare for All advocates should be talking about more is under Medicare for All and a single payer system, there's only one network, one nationwide network. So your doctor is always in that network. So in a single payer system, you can keep your doctor. You lose your private health insurance plan because you now have a government health insurance plan, but you get to go to whatever doctor you want to go to. And so I do think that's part of the confusion here. But I think we've been focusing on this part of the debate, private health insurance versus single payer. And it sort of obscured what I think is probably the real debate here, which is how we finance such a system, right? Like, the Bernie Sanders plan for Medicare for All is more generous in its benefits and the fact that it eliminates all copays, deductibles, premiums whatsoever than any other system in the world right now. Even other single-payer systems don't offer as many services and benefits as Bernie Sanders system does. And the plan has been around for a while. There is no plan to finance it. There's a lot of options to finance it that just still don't necessarily add up to what it really costs. And so I think the debate is going to come in the financing of this plan. Who's going to pay more in taxes, even though your premiums go away? What does your new tax bill look like? Who does that hit? Who pays more? Who pays less? And what services does the government provide for healthcare under a single-payer system? Because the government chooses which services are free, which can be provided and which not.
Yeah, I also think another facet of this debate that has been not very present, certainly not in the debates, is I think we've seen a lot of unfair attacks and a lot of more, this is what Warren says, others had the sort of conservative talking points used to go after single payer, which has meant, on the one hand, we've not had the conversation Jon's talking about actual kind of nuts and bolts how to pay for it, but also there are, in the debate between a kind of private system plus a public option and Medicare for All, there are advantages to Medicare for All that haven't been part of the debate. Actually, I think in over 4 nights of 2 debates, the only person to actually talk about it, at least substantially, was Andrew Yang, talking about the advantages of no longer having insurance tied to work. So I think for people that are worried about Medicare for All, even before we get to thinking about costs, they're worried about how it'll affect them personally in this transition. But there are real advantages to Medicare for All in that your employer no longer determining your health care, and you feeling as though you can leave your job maybe for another job, or maybe to try something else, work out of your home, become a private contractor, whatever you want to do with your life. There's real advantages to the Medicare for All model that Harris, who has become an advocate for it, has not provided or discussed very much. Bernie hasn't talked about it that much, at least. He has talked about it in the past. I haven't seen it that much lately. Warren hasn't talked about it that much. So I think part of the issue too is I think people are scared of it and they don't understand what the advantage of Medicare for All is versus a public option, because no one's really making that case, not about why we all need healthcare, which is where it sit, but like literally why is everyone in the system better than a public option?
Yeah, I found that a little frustrating in the debates, because there was so much time devoted to healthcare, but it seemed like no one was really effectively, not that they were doing it ineffectively, but like no one was thinking to make that case, and it was kind of hard.
Yeah, well, I think people are leaning on simplistic arguments because these debates are set up for sound bites and 30-second things, and that's unfortunate because it's an incredibly complex and nuanced debate. And if the debate's just going to be, if you're for a public option, you're a shill for the insurance companies, and if you're Medicare for all, you're a socialist who wants to take away people's health care, I think that's an unfortunate debate.
Right.
Yeah. It's and part of it too is we just accept. It's so part of the atmosphere of politics that we just accept that when people are going to talk about their positions, they are going to only focus on the upsides of their views and the downsides of their opponent's views. Like there's no intellectual honesty. I mean, our debate is certainly more honest than the Republican debate, but there's no actual kind of engagement. There's no reflection of trade-offs. Both of these plans have trade-offs, and nobody is going to engage on those trade-offs in any kind of honest way, and so the debate becomes quite frustrating.
On that note, actually, we still have another healthcare question. So this is Dennis's question, not mine.
Good
take that in mind. Considering no Democratic president will be able to get meaningful healthcare change through a Republican Senate, don't you find it a bit of a waste of time that so much attention is paid to their policies throughout this campaign instead of foreign affairs, etc.? ?
No, I don't. I don't find that to be a very compelling argument. I want there to be a foreign policy debate. I want there to be a climate debate. I want the healthcare debate to be more fulsome than the version of it we've been getting. There's a lot more to healthcare than just the specific axis of what's been debated in these debates. However, campaigns are not just about winning. They're also about creating the groundwork, the momentum, the public support for what you want to get done. Republicans spent years lying about healthcare in order to win elections. It worked. They won some elections, but then they had to actually govern. And after trying to repeal Obamacare, 72 times roughly during the Obama years, they win and have the actual capacity to pass an Obamacare repeal, but they couldn't build the coalition to do it because all they had was a lie, which is all the attacks and unfair insults they had been leveling against Obamacare with no actual substantive proposal with what they wanted to do instead. And so when that actually happens, when you win, when you're looking for the opportunity to govern, if you haven't been honest with people, if you hadn't had the conversation, it is incredibly difficult to get something done.
I do think it's a good question, though, and Dennis makes a decent point because...
Always defending Dennis.
Always defending Dennis. Like, we should, for all the reasons Lovett just said, and for, long-term movement building and public opinion moving, we should be talking about the central challenges that we face as a country and that people are facing in their lives, whether it's healthcare, whether it's housing, whether it's climate change. But I don't think we have talked enough about what each of these presidential candidates have the most power to do once they're president, which is set foreign policy and take action through executive order and staff their administration with people who they're going to pick for all of their cabinet posts, who they're going to pick to run agencies, which are incredibly powerful and make a huge difference in people's lives. And so I think there could be more conversation devoted to, okay, so say you do have a Republican Senate, which is very possible. You're not going to pass healthcare. You're not going to pass climate, Green New Deal. What are you going to do about healthcare? What can you do on your own as president to improve people's healthcare? What can you do on your own as president to do something about our climate emergency? And what will you do around the world, considering you have a huge amount of power in foreign policy? We haven't been asking those questions enough, and they're very important because there is a very good chance that that's the power that the president's going to have, and they're not going to be able to pass a lot of things through Congress.
All right. We have one last question before we get to the fun stuff, and I think this question is like something that I've heard a lot of people ask.
Cool.
So Joe wants to know, Democrats running for president are criticizing Obama-era policies in their attacks against Joe Biden. Should they be wary of this and how Democratic voters will perceive them, considering there is still major love for Obama and his presidency?
Yes, because Obama is perfect and has never done anything wrong.
No mistakes.
Look, I think this is a narrative that has been way overblown in the media. When you look back at that debate where this narrative was born, Bill de Blasio, and no one else but Bill de Blasio, turned to Joe Biden and started criticizing Barack Obama on deportations. Totally legitimate criticism. We have talked about Obama's record on deportations numerous times on many programs in crooked media. It is something to be debated. Barack Obama himself would tell you that in the first term, he did not do enough on immigration to stem deportations. Where his policy ended up in the end of the second term was quite good on deportations, I believe. And I think a lot of other candidates are basically in line with that policy right now. But it's fine to critique one policy. I don't think these candidates are critiquing the Affordable Care Act at all because, or if they are, they're doing exactly what Barack Obama did, which is say that it is a very good start and that we should build on it. In 2018, Barack Obama said Medicare for all is a good idea. So I don't think that any of the debate around healthcare is unfair to Barack Obama. And then the only other critique I heard in that entire debate was around the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a trade agreement. And do I think that the TPP was a good deal? Yeah, you can disagree with that. A lot of people do. A lot of the candidates do. But that's a disagreement over a trade agreement. I don't think those three things, those three instances, add up in any way to a bunch of candidates running around critiquing Obama's record. And I'm someone who's pretty sensitive about critiques to Obama's record. And if I heard them and I thought people were being unfair to Obama, I'd be pretty fucking pissed. And I'd be out there talking about it. I don't feel that way. I didn't feel that way after the second debate.
It was surprising. We talked about this. Like the next day when Biden was asked about it, and all of a sudden I was like, what? I watched that debate. What? Where was this? Where is this coming from? And I know where it came from. The Beltway.
Yeah, I have not talked to our former boss, but I can almost guarantee you that he was not pissed off by that debate. I think there was some source in a Politico story who had actually talked to him and said no, he thought it was all pretty fair.
And by the way, also it's like, yeah, the next Democratic president is gonna do different things and have different views than the last Democratic president because politics has shifted, the country has shifted, the problems have shifted. Like that's what it means to be a changing and progressing nation.
You want to talk about an attack on a Democratic predecessor? Look what we did to the Clintons in 2008.
Yeah, savaged. Savage.
The Obama campaign was arguably much more critical of Bill Clinton's record and style of politics than anyone has been of Barack Obama.
And it was pretty effective. Maybe there's somebody gleaned here. But the other, it's also, when you build on Social Security and the New Deal, it is not saying that FDR failed on Social Security.
Yeah.
It's just that you keep making progress. You keep going further.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get to the fun questions, I just got an email that I think you are going to be very interested in.
Oh.
Roman actually emailed me about the upcoming ad in today's What a Day. Yes, this is a plug. Features a GIF of your dog, the one and only Leo Favreau, for Nom Nom Now. So yeah, tune into that.
Leo, you hear that? You're gonna be famous.
I looked at Elijah. I looked at Elijah because I thought there might have been a chance that Pundit missed a photo opportunity with AOC. And
Is Leo is the one who I tried.
Lovett's heart just broke on the live stream.
It's funny, Emily was going to keep Leo today, but I said, AOC's in the office and there may be a photo opportunity. Do you really want Pundit to seize that opportunity? And that was the fastest Emily's ever changed her mind about anything.
It's been very hard because obviously Pundit doesn't have a PR team. She doesn't have an operation. She doesn't have a flack-on retainer. And the kind of attacks coming out of Emily's war room, fully staffed. I mean, God only knows what they're doing all day. It's been quite relentless. The smears.
Transparent spin.
The smears.
Just so transparent. It's sad.
Trying to denigrate Pundit.
You named your dog
the page
precisely for the PR value.
The page 6 item. The
Pundit's
page 6 items.
name is the PR value.
The page 6 items against Pundit. Pundit's relationships are on the rocks.
Could have just named her Fluffy, but
Any other questions, Priyanka?
I love all these dogs as if they're my own.
All right.
I used to feel the same.
All right. Paul wanted you guys to rate the different campaign slogans. We had I want to say better idea. Sorry, Paul. But you guys had the idea.
Paul, hey. One message from today's live stream. Paul, Dennis, eat shit.
Someone, I think it was Lovett, maybe, proposed that we read the slogan and then maybe have you guys guess whose it is.
And then we'll
yeah.
Then you can rate
then
them.
we'll
We're going to rate them.
Of course
We're going to
we'll be
rate them
judgy. That's
and then
the whole
find
point
out
of
whose
this.
they are. Okay.
All right. Building opportunity together.
Oh my God.
Don't like it.
Who do you
What?
think it is? I feel like it'd be helpful if I had like a list or something. There's so many names.
Building
Opportunity together.
Bot. It's been coming up with a.
Is that Steve Bullock?
Tim Ryan.
No. Michael
Bennett.
Bennett.
Michael
Yeah.
Bennett. Together.
Second guess.
Pretty good. It's the It felt like a moderate.
Yeah, it's. I like
The
Michael
together.
Bennett a lot.
We like Michael
Bad.
Bennett. Bad. Well, didn't work.
Working
hasn't
people
yet.
first.
That could be a couple people.
Very old school. Working people first.
First. Tim Ryan.
That's a good guess. Klobuchar.
BDB.
Oh yeah, Bill de Blasio.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
It's fine. It's better than building opportunity together, but not by much.
I don't hate it. I don't love it.
Working people first.
I like the
Putting people first was Bill Clinton's. People have been trying to copy that forever.
I guess maybe it's a little too like America first, working people first. I don't know. It's fine.
It's
fine.
It's a message that at least it gets the message across.
Look,
right?
one thing
it's
that-
not like very creative, but it is a message. You think, okay, he's gonna put working people first.
You nailed it. Wow, it really
that's
got
what you
there.
think. building opportunity together. Like, what does that even mean?
What does it even mean?
All right. Lead with love.
Oh,
Like
Marianne
a
Williamson.
few.
No.
Wait. Oh, is it Booker?
I think I've heard that. I think this is Tulsi Gabbard, isn't it?
You're right.
What? What is
Yeah,
it?
I saw that. in
Lead
some
with
ad somewhere.
love.
Lead.
thought-
I thought you said leap with love.
Oh no, lead. D.
Oh, lead with love. That's
Would that
Tulsi
have done it
Gabbard.
for you?
Well, no. Leap with love was so crazy. I thought it must be Marianne. Anyway,
Lead with love.
lead with love.
Okay, I don't. That's one where it is not a direct message, but it is an interesting slogan. But I don't know that it has captured Tulsi Gabbard's.
Gabbard, yeah.
I don't
That's
know if
right.
it describes
It seems like a
Tulsi
little
Gabbard's
disconnect.
campaign.
That if your campaign slogan is going to be lead with love, like it should be clear based on
Yeah,
what
like
you're
when
saying.
when
the
you take a
message-
sledgehammer to Kamala Harris's record and debate, I
Yeah.
don't know if that necessarily screams
Yeah.
leading with love.
when you reach into Tim Ryan's heart, take out his beating heart and show it to people to demonstrate your power. I
not
guess
lead-
it's leading with
It's
something.
leading with something.
All right. Our best days still lie ahead.
What?
Our best days still lie ahead.
Who's doing that?
Who's
Oh my goodness.
that? Could be a couple of them. There's so many candidates. Our
I
best
feel like it'll be
days
surprising, but
still lie ahead. Lie ahead or lay
still
ahead?
lie. Still lie ahead.
Is that grammatical? Lie.
Steve Bullock.
No.
Hickenlooper?
Joe Biden.
Really?
Joe Biden.
That's what
I haven't heard that from him.
That's his slogan.
Interesting. Okay.
Focus on the future.
Focus on the
that's so
future.
bad. Focus on the future.
I feel
Uh,
like this one does make sense.
Yang?
Young candidate?
Oh, Buttigieg?
No.
I don't know.
I meant made sense in the sense that it was bad.
It says it was what?
Bad.
Bad. Focus on the future. It's just so
Hickenlooper?
It's John Delaney.
No, it's just like the ones that are so indistinct. It feels like just guessing randomly, which tells you the slogan's not very good.
This one's just come together. What?
Just come together?
Just, that's it. Come together.
I don't know. I'm just keep guessing because I
That-
don't know.
That one's Hickenlooper. That one's wild.
Yeah, not good.
It's like what? Come together. That's it. It's in two other slogans already.
This one's a High School Musical song. We're all in this together.
So that's three togethers.
We're all in this together.
So it has a solidarity vibe.
Is that Beto?
Yeah.
Nice. You're good.
All right. We'll close out the last one. Let me find a good one. A lot of these have the names in them, which I do think is helpful. Oh, Brave Wins.
Oh, that's Jill.
That's Gillibrand.
Wasn't even hard. Fine. All right.
I could do these all day.
Give us some more.
Give
This
us
is fun.
more.
We're having fun.
More.
We're having fun. I don't want to
Okay.
stop.
Okay. One nation, one destiny.
Woo!
Loopy. It's loopy. One nation, one destiny. I can't see anyone saying that out loud.
I don't think they would.
Is that Booker?
No.
It's not.
Um,
One nation.
we've gone through a lot of the Tim Ryan, Seth Moulton.
One nation, one. Marianne.
No.
One
All right, give this
nation.
one to us.
Seth Moulton's is just Seth Moulton for America. What was that again?
One nation.
Oh, Julian Castro.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, let's find another.
Give us like the front runners now and see if we can get
Yeah.
just
yeah.
I don't think we should leave
Okay.
without doing all the front runners.
Yes.
Okay,
Smart.
okay.
Smart.
Wow.
Smart.
This one has 3. We persist. We will rebuild the
Oh.
middle class.
Warren.
And I'm not going to read the last one because there's a name.
Is it Warren?
Warren, yeah.
Persist. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Not me, us.
Bernie,
Yep.
a good one.
Great one.
I think that's one of the best ones I've heard.
For the people.
Kamala.
Great.
Which is
Actually, you know what? The fact that we just know it tells you there's something good
But
to it.
I also feel like you just told me like, oh, give me like front runners, and now you're just like, okay, I go number
No,
one.
but if you say for
Probably
the
some
people,
elimination.
well, the Biden one I certainly didn't know.
would never
Yeah,
have
that
gotten.
one was-
If you say the reason for the people, to
And
me,
I wouldn't have gotten the Warren. Well,
Yeah, she has
so
been
sorry.
on very.
It's a
on
very
that
easy
message.
thing online for people to be like bad slogan, bad slogan, bad slogan, bad slogan. I think for the people, like, is it the best slogan I've ever heard? No, but like, it. I think it very it's very kind of, it's a little bit manufactured, but this idea, like, that's what she said when she was a prosecutor. It brings in the moment we're in about fighting for regular people. Like, I see it. I like it. I like it as much as
Leo hates
Leo
it.
likes it. No, but I like for the people.
All right.
And I also, by the way, it evokes. I mean, just to, the labor slogan that they've been using for the many, not the few. I like, and I like that it's been evoked by several candidates in the U.S.
It ties her prosecutorial record, which they want you to know about, together with populism, which is an important message. It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
All right. Last one. A fresh start for America.
That's Pete.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
And I think that I get what they're trying to convey there. I think Pete Buttigieg is much better than that message, than that slogan. The message that he's a fresh start is a good message. It's a very powerful
Yes,
message.
it's,
But fresh start,
Well, it's sort of
ugh,
like it's
like a cleaning product or
well,
a deodorant or something.
My issue with it is that it's
sound
there are
like
many,
detergent.
you can have a good fresh start, you can have a bad fresh start. You shake that Etch-a-Sketch, you can draw whatever you want after, but will it be good? Like the only thing, like, fresh start to me is just sort of like, we're going to get rid of Trump and have a young person kind of cool and new in this job. But
Pete Buttigieg has also been one of the best message people
Yeah.
that the party has seen in a long time. He's brilliant at that kind of stuff. So a fresh start doesn't really.
well, maybe we're wrong. Maybe he maybe he cracked it.
Maybe he cracked it. Maybe that's it.
Oh, wait. We got people on the stream who want to know humanity first.
Humanity first.
Who do you think?
Is
that
what-
Yang?
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
Yang?
Of course. It's people on the stream. Yang gang.
Oh yeah, Yang Gang. Yang Gang. Yang Gang.
Yang gang.
Yang Gang. Yang Gang. Hey, Yang Gang.
That
I
is
want
getting
you to know
clipped and
something.
used,
I
you
want to know
guys.
something. You are seen. Okay?
I know we saw all your comments on Twitter. We were neglectful in talking about Andrew Yang's debate performance
We were.
last time. It's our bad.
And
we
you know
will
what?
not do it again.
We're going
You know
higher
what?
ground.
And
We'll
I
not make that
honestly
mistake
didn't
again.
know it was true.
And I'm sorry.
On the first 400 tweets. But when I got that 401st tweet, it really fucking clicked for me. It clicked. Okay, Yang Gang? We talked to Andrew Yang. You talked to him, or?
I did not. Tommy did.
Oh,
There-
there you
Look at that.
Signed by your Silicon Valley god, Andrew Yang.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for joining.